feedback is the breakfast of champions. So we received those feedback last week, and we believe it's something that we should work on, and we're working on them. And one of the feedback we got last week was, oh, please start from simple, and then before we get into the ocean of those large data, please, um, we will be doing just that today. All right, so starting from this point that we're in, so I'll just be putting some data in there, and we'll do it as if we're here. So we are so um, tech in transit attendant. So I mean, just teaching a bit of formatting now. Okay, so I want to name this table that I'm about to create tech in transit um, exam result. So at the top here, alignment ribbon in the home tab. So we have something that is called merge cell. So I can merge this cell to, so I've merged the cell from A to G. So and there I can say this is tech in transit score sheet. All right, score sheet. So just imagine what your score will look like, and we'll just be doing a score sheet. All right. So we have the serial number, and I'll just be picking names from the core. Okay, the first name I have here is, okay, let me be picking from the charts. If you want me to pick your name, you can just drop a chart. All right. Okay, let me quickly pick this. So so the name. All right. So if I pick your name, you won't mind the score I will give you. So disclaimer: this is not your score. This is just a demonstration, a class demonstration. Okay. Oh, this is. I saw this name on LinkedIn not so long ago. So these are some of the people that are engaging with the class on LinkedIn. See, if you want what you're doing to be recognized, you have to tell people about it. And some people are doing that very well. Steven, okay, let me just copy. Okay, you put your full name here. All right, so I think I have enough. Sorry if I couldn't get to you. So this, okay. So let me use this opportunity to just point out this particular thing that I just did. So I think I showed it last week, and these are some of the things that you will see when you're working um, on project. So you possibly could have um, a data set that has, it has like 1 to 1 million, and you want to drag across, because some people, I've seen people just drag and drag across like this. Okay, this is not the one I'm trying to drag. Okay, yes, I want to have more rows, so I can just do this. I hope my system won't hang. Okay, all right. So And some people, because they want to take it all the way, what they do at best is just to say, what they do at best is to just hold this lower right corner and then drag it across and drag it across, and they continue going. So that is not what you should do as someone who had gone through this class. So the best you should do is just to come to the lower right corner and then you double click. So by the time you double click, yeah, yes, you want a serial number, but now it is giving you all ones. So it's giving you all ones, and the best thing you want to do at this point is to just say, come to this icon that is showing here, come to this icon and click on the icon. So you have the options that are before you. You have these options that are before you. And the first option is for you to say, yeah, you want to copy cell. And the second option is for you to say, I want to fill series. And the third option is for you to say, I want to fill format only. And like that, that fill without formatting and the flash fill. So for this particular purpose, we'll be using just um, the fill series because we want the number to be in series. So we'll just say fill series. And once we click on fill series, so we can see that our number graduated from 1 to the last number. So and that's how to go about that. So we can always undo and we go back to status quo. Okay, so as we have achieved that, all right. So these names that I've selected, score yourself, please score yourself, test score and exam score. So because I want to perform something on it, test score and the exam score. All right. Jonathan 1240 and not Jonathan now. And somebody's did another person 2864, 2864. So 2030. Why are you people scoring low like this? Somebody did 80 for someone, that should be maybe exam score. Okay, so let us make the exam score over 60 so that we don't have beyond 60. Yeah, let this be 60 at most and this be 57 4. And so we want to have a total of 100. So if, okay, you don't have to score every mark, okay, forgetting that you don't have to score everything. So don't mind, okay, I said 60. All right. Don't mind me, I'm a very good teacher. I love people scoring high marks. Sorry, Steven, I don't mean to give you 60, 46. All right, so yeah, basic things that we can do at this point. I talked about um, I talked about the five basic summary, the five basic summary in Excel. The five basic summary is the sum, the average, the count, the maximum, and the minimum. All right, thank you. So that shows that we still have a hand of what we did last week, even though we're doing some recap, and at this time we are taking it very slowly. All right. So at this point, so what do you think we'll be doing first? So to sum this up, so the best way to achieve that is just coming into, say for instance, the total score. So we call this total score, and I think this meets the request of those that ask that we should just take it one after the other, and you will see how this can actually be implemented in Excel. And I mean, as simple as it is, we are working from known to unknown now, and I think that will help us to be better in this. All right. Okay, so now we need to write uh, a formula. So if we want to write a formula, simple, is just to say this cell C3. Remember the naming of our cell. We say the cell takes the name of the column um, and the row that the cell belongs to. So all cells, there are an intersection of a row and a column. So for you to have a cell, a column, and a row must have intersected at a point. So that point in which they intersected is the cell that we're talking about. And this particular cell that we have just selected, the C3, is just saying that the cell where column C and row 3 intersect, and that's where it derives its name from, the C3. So, and I say plus D3, so which is where I have, and all you need to is just to hit the enter button and you have the sum. And so instead of me doing the same for this, we can just say replicate. So you can just double click the um, lower right corner of the cell, and at that point the color of your cursor will change from being white with black outline to black. So, and then you can then double click. So we've written a formula, and this is good. I mean, this is good. We can, and we can rank them and say which one is the highest and which one is the lowest. And but before we do that, I would love to achieve the same thing using a function that is already existing in Excel, and that is the function equals to. Remember, when I wanted to start my formula, I start with equal to. So whenever we want to perform any operation in Excel, we initiate it with equals to. So now I use equals sum. So there's a function called sum in Excel, which does the function of what I just did. It does what it says. It sums value. So now I'm using sum, and now because it is the function sum I have just called, so it's asking me some question. It says the first number I want the sum. I say this is the first number I want the sum, and it says separate with a comma, because if you can see from the screen clearly, you will see that the first number, that is number one, is separated with a comma, and then we can proceed to number two. So you see, by the time I separate this with a comma, then number two is now being requested. So I'm now being asked, what is number two? That is the second number I want to add. So now, if I should separate with a comma, it will ask me, do you have a third number? But because I don't have a third number, I can just hit the enter button. So I can hit the enter button, and that did the summing for me. And the same thing we did, we can just drag across. Okay, so we can drag across. All right. So that's been that being said, so we can actually do more with this data set that is just before us. Taking us back to this point. All right, taking us back to this point. So I'll create two cells now. So you are given a task that says we don't want the full name here. So this is full name. Let me just separate it. Full name, and we want you to have it as first name, and last name. All right, so at this point, we must first, we possibly we want to first do maybe like two manually. Okay, we can do two manually for us to flash fill, but for you to flash fill, it must have a reference. Okay, it must have a reference. So with this, I believe flash fill should work. Let me test it. All right, so but to flash fill, so you will take the two of these together. All right, so you will take the two and then you double click. All right, so it has copied what you did, so it is not giving us the flash fill option. All right, it's not giving us, but let's try something and undo, and let's do it with just this one and see if that works. All right, so that means we'll have to do this separately in flash fill. All right, so we're able to achieve it with flash fill, but for um, flash fill to work, you must have a reference. Okay, you must have a reference. Let me see if you can take just one reference. So it takes one reference. So all we can actually, but sometimes you have for you if it is a pattern, it takes one reference here because it is it's a regular one, and I will explain what I mean by regular now. So um, all are separated by just space. So and it was able to just say, oh, if you are asking for this, then we can flash fill and we have this. So flash filling could actually help you with this without any hassle. But in a case where it doesn't, for you to apply the flash fill, like I said, you must actually have a reference. All right, you must have a reference, and now we have actually used this reference. So let me even see if I can do both together, maybe because I have two the other time was why. Okay, so it's not taking two together, so we have to do it one after the other. All right, we have to do it one after the other. So we already put a reference there and we say flash fill. So Excel is smart. It will, the first option is copy cell, and that was why it duplicated it over. And so we now say flash fill. So what it will do, since Nathaniel was the reference, okay, and we say flash fill, so it will take everything that is in the position of Nathaniel across board. It will take everything in the position of Nathaniel across board. All right. So and the same thing goes for this Ojo Feitimi. Sorry, I just made that name. So Ojo, let me just do Ojo. So and it might not be a Yoruba name. So saying Ojo could actually be another disaster. All right. So this actually is how flash fill works. So just make sure you put the reference there. All right. Put the reference there and then come to this box and then flash fill. So don't let me get into the intended formula because and that is using the left and the right. So using the left and the right could be very cumbersome, but it's something you can actually get online. So you can get how to use the left and the right online. If I write it, don't ask me a question about it, but I will explain it. But don't ask me in case you don't get the logic behind it. And you must always and okay, let me not get into it because it will just be too much of back end loading. I mean front end loading, and this is what I mean. Um, in this particular formula that will do this or the function, so several functions will be combined. At least two functions will be used to achieve this. For the left and for the right, we'll be combining about three functions to achieve this. So instead of having to combine functions when we presume this is a beginner class. So let us just leave it at this point of um, what's it called, of using flash fill. Okay, let's leave it at this point of using flash fill. So two things we've been able to do now: we've been able to separate um, name, full name in the same cell. We have been able to separate. I mean, imagine we have a whole lot of these, and say for instance we have all the way, we have something like this that goes all the way down. Okay, it goes all the way down. I did that just for replication. So how do we then manually go about it, filling it one after the other, just copy and pasting? But with flash fill, just like it has been demonstrated, we can just double click this, and then you come to this edge and you say you want it to flash fill, and then there you go. And the same thing you can do for the last name as well, and say I want it to flash fill, and then there you go, you have achieved that. All right, so for these ones you can just double click on the edge just to replicate that. Okay, so we don't need all of that, just let us stick to what we need. And we've also been able to demonstrate how to write a formula. So and we've been able to write the get it sum using a formula, and also this. Okay, now let us apply what we did last week to this. Okay, let's apply what we did last week to this. Okay. Okay, it's asking if the reference is always done manually. Yes, you can do the reference manually, and if you don't want to do it manually, and that was when I was talking about you combining, I mean, the formula that does this without blinking, and you don't even have to use flash fill. Let me just put it in here, and that's something that you possibly will go and check how it works. So, and I will explain how all of this works. So I've just written the left. So without having to, um, I don't need, okay, let me just delete everything. So I don't need to just put any reference here. It will come by itself because I've written a formula, I mean, I've combined functions to bring this forth. So now, so I said left. So left, it will be looking from the left. I said look to the left of 3b, and let me make it more. So left will be asking, the question left will be asking is, what is the text you want to look to the text of? I mean to the left of. So I want to look to the left of this particular cell, and it says uh number of character that you want to look to the left of. So I said, well, to determine the number of character, so do a search. So search for anywhere there is a space. So this parenthesis or this apostrophe sign that has space in between, it is because space is a character, and I needed to tell that it's a character. So what I've actually done here is that I've actually called that I want to look from where the space is in B3, which is where the name is. And I said, give me everything to the left of this space, and that's where the -1 comes in. If the -1 isn't there, I possibly could be having the space still included in my result. But with this, I don't have a space. So if I do copy paste and I paste as, so I won't have any space here. Okay, I don't have any space here. All right, I don't have any space, but doing this. Okay, so that's what I just did. Yeah, you will see difference now. So can you see the difference? And that's what
Yes.
I explained. The space will be included. Oh, you will only see it when you click in there. You will have the space included in what you have written. So can you see that the space is included? Can you see this space before after Stephen, after Gabriel, yes, after Precious? So if
Yeah.
you do with the plus one, okay, minus one right now. So you have actually removed the place of what's it called, that space. Yeah, you are actually looking from the space, but you are now looking to the left of the space as well. So now, if I copy and paste this as a character, s- so move this, so there is no space. There is no space in this. So no space, no space, no space. Okay. So and like I said before writing that, so it's what we call nesting. So it is a lot of things were actually incorporated into it to achieve that. And the same thing we could do for the right. So the right also could be achieved, but I won't go into it because let that be for you to actually look out for. I see that to be too much of information. All right, so at this point, yeah, so we can take this out. We can use any
Function
of
is
them.
just
Both of them
performed.
are sum. So it's actually a delimiter. So it's used to separate, to split um what's it called, the content of a cell. So you can achieve it using the delimiter function also. So it has, yeah, it's a delimiter. Well, the space is the delimiter because that's what you use in separating. Like I said, this is just to make you inquisitive. This is just to whet your appetite to how the things can be done. Let me tell you the raw truth. Being a beginner's class, this is not here. This is not what should be here. But these are some of the things that you do because there could be other things. And I tell you for a fact where you possibly will need this. Let me separate this with an hyphen, okay? So you will see it is returning not a value, okay? All right. So, but all you need to do is to change the space because it is no longer space but an hyphen. All right. So, and that works. So, please, this is not something you have to understand yet, especially this formula. But what you must understand here, and let me say it very clearly, is this that we did earlier. You must understand that one here. If you don't understand that one, I can repeat it over and over again. All right. But the one I just did, you possibly might not pick it now. So this you must understand now. The use of flash fill to separate the content of a cell. Yes, perfect. So if you understand that, please run with that. And if you need to understand this particular run, so you just need to call what is separating them. So if it is a space separating them, you call it. If it is anything, if it is an underscore separating them, you call it, because some of the data you'll be getting, some of the raw data you'll be getting will be separated by delimiters, especially from some of these from SQL. So you possibly will be getting maybe you get something that was actually done with Python. So a lot of things could actually play out. So you must know how to just pick out those things. Yeah, all right. So the formatting of that particular cell was altered because of the formula that was in it. All right. So And you can do for the right as well. So you can do for the right, that is looking from the back. We look from the left, we can look from the right, and it takes another turn. So please let us move forward in this. All right. Like I said, we want to also examine some of the things we did last week. I'm doing it in this time in a bit. Okay, so now we want to use the if function. Okay, we want to use the if function. Now, I showed the if function the other time, and let's assume I need people whose mark is beyond. I want to compute those that passed, or say for instance I want to grade these people, and I want to say these are those that have A, these are those that have B, these are those that have C. So let us have an agreement now that if you are above 80, let us set our expectation. 80 is A, um, 75 to 80 is B, and 70 is C, and then we have 50 also. Let's just say that is let's just do the classification. Okay, all right. So we can now call. So first you need to understand what you want to achieve, and that will aid you even if you had to ask a question in online on Google, or even if you want to ask ChatGPT or any other AI. So you want to understand first, okay, I want to classify this score, and I want to, you can do it in various way, but one of the way is you saying if. Okay, that is um so you want to just put a condition, so you can use the if, and I will also demonstrate this using ifs. All right, so if we are using just if, and we say um 80 and above is A, you now say if the score that is here, so we can use any of these two. Let's even take one out, since we have been able to demonstrate what we want to achieve by that. We only demonstrated that we can have um you can have it written as a formula if you know what you want to achieve, and especially the arithmetic part. And you have, I mean, some people who have PhD in mathematics, you might want to flex your mathematics muscle. You want to write it the way it is, so you can use this. And if you want to rely on the functions that are inbuilt in Excel, you can actually use this. So let me just clear the content of the cell. Alright. Oh, okay. Because of the merge cell at the top. All right. So I then say if. So remember your equal sign always. Okay, remember your equal sign always. And now we say if this total score equals, that is greater than or equals 80, we say it should be the. Okay, so let me explain the argument now. I love Excel for one thing because it is interactive. Many people don't know that Excel is interactive. So any function you pick, and I think I mentioned last week, Excel will ask you question, or will tell you what is required to achieve what you are set to achieving. So Excel is asking me that, John, you want to use if. To use if, you need a logical text. You need to test something. So if is a conditional function, so you need a logical text. I mean, something that will be used to test. I mean, a lot of us who are statistic inclined, you understand that you want to test something. So now, what do I want to? What is that logical test that I want to put forth? The logical test I want to put forth is that if this is greater than or equal to 80, that is the logical test. Okay, that is the logical test that I have set for this first argument. And it says, comma, what do you want it to do? It says value if true. Okay, value if true. I say value if true is A. But if you write A, just A, you possibly will run into an issue. This is the reason. If I say it should return 2, I won't run into an error when I execute. Okay. If I say if G3 is greater than or equal to AC, return 2, I won't run into an error. It will run. All right. But if I just say A, I will run into an error. And the reason is because it's seen A as a defined musical as something that has been defined in Excel, and A is not defined in Excel as anything other than an error message will come up. Okay, but for me to say it's A, I mean, so I need to quote the A. Remember, when I used the left the other time, the space, which is the delimiter, was actually between two inverted commas or parenthesis or something. But let's call it, for the sake of this class, inverted commas. All right. So I'll put it between two inverted commas, and now it's understand that it is a character. So any character, when you're writing a formula, if you want to put a character there, you must put it in an inverted comma. So, and this character, yeah, it will be false. I never meant to end this, but it will show false because I did. But for those that are bigger than A, that is those that are 80 and above, it will show A for them. So what I wanted to do before this actually ended itself, okay, was to say this A need not to be A. You can actually write something as long as this. Okay, you can write something as long as this, and you have excellent reflecting wherever. But you can't stop here because this A, I mean, the options we have is not just A. Okay, we are not just here to grade A, and we say other people should go away. So we want to set the second rule. Now, because we are using if takes only one logical test. If is just one condition. It is if such one condition, and that's all. But there is a way we can actually make several conditions out of this if. And instead of me, he's now asking me if this particular first logical test is not correct, what should it do? If I choose not to tell it to do anything, if I say okay, it will just throw back false whenever it is not true. But if I need it to perform something, I could say if it is not true, if this person does not get 80 and above, just say the person failed. All right. So just say the person failed. And for as many people who did not have up to 80, the return failed for them, even the guy that scored 49. So he said failed. All right. Okay, so now, but I don't want to just say fail. I still want to use if, but I want to put in several conditions. So this is how to achieve that. Instead of closing it at if this doesn't work, so I will make my if this one is not true, that is if false, I will make it to become another condition. I will set another logic test by it. So instead of me just writing fail and then a close at that, I can put another if. And that is the concept of nested if. So I'm putting another if in place, and it's saying put the logic again. So I will now say if this is um, less than, if this is greater than 75, Abi. So if this cell again is greater than 75, greater than or equal to 75. Return. Okay, so this is what I will do. I'll show you something now so that we'll take care of the lower limit. But let me just return my b first, and you know, okay. But in this place, because, and please don't get it into. I mean, don't get into. Don't make it look so difficult to understand. And I'll say and. So and will give me the opportunity of setting several logic. Okay, so why do I need several logic to be set in place here? I need that if this is because I need from 75 to 80. So I will put my hand in place and say G3 greater than or equal to 75, and the second logic G3 less than 80. All right, so that forms my first logic. I don't know if I have made it so clumsy, but pardon me. So that 79 return B immediately. And I don't know if you understand what I did here. I understand. Perfect. I go with those that say I understand. For the sake of those that said I don't understand, let me go by it again. All right. So now we already have, remember, if can only take one condition. Now we are now doing too much that we should have. So we want to set another condition. So we have already provided the one condition, and we have provided the value that it should return if true. But because we have other conditions to put in place, so we need, and we don't want to use ifs at this point because we'll be demonstrating ifs later. But we just want to go this way of if, and want to achieve whatsoever we want to achieve with just if. So we want to set the second condition. You know, the first one is easy. Why? Because it is just greater than or equal to 80. That is from 80 to 1 billion. If you score 1 billion, that's, I mean, over syllabus is for you. And you know, it all you get is A. That is easy. 80 and above A. It's easy. But now we want to set a, we want to talk about a range that if you have 75 and you are less than, I mean, 75 or above, but less than 80. That is from 75 to 79. We're not dealing with the real number now, where we'll be considering the decimal. But we're talking about 75 to 90 is B. All right. So in that instance, you want to set two limits. All right. So the first thing you want to do, you want to extend your if. Because say for instance now, if I should set that condition here, if we tell me I am doing more than I am allowed, let's assume I just say, if this, I'm about to set another condition, if this is greater than this, um greater than or equal to 75, and let me just, okay, oh, I've not crossed my boundary. Let me try and add one more argument. Let me say b. Okay, so I have crossed my boundary. Even if I say this, well, if even if I just want to say, for those that are less than 80, I've said greater than or equal to 80. If I said less than 80, I have crossed my boundaries here because I have added an extra argument to the if. And if will tell me you have entered too many arguments for this function. So all that if can contain is the logical test, the value if true, and the value if false. Okay, but now we have more than just that. We have several conditions. We have just more than one condition, so we can leverage if false. So if false is open for us to use, and by that we can introduce a new if, which could now be regarded as the nested if, because there is a if inside of the if. But because we have two function, I mean two, we want to set a range. We want to set the lower limits and the upper limits of this range. So we can use and. Because and is a repository for logical test. So because by the time we introduce and, so this and, well, if the what if takes is, the first thing if takes is the logical test. So in setting our logical test, we have several logical tests that we want to put in place. I mean, maybe just two now, because we just want to set the logical test for the lower limit and the logical test for the upper limit. So we now bring in and. And is another function in Excel, but what and does is just logic. So and want to take as much logic that you want. I mean that you have to put in place. So the first logic I want to say is, oh, guy, if it is greater than or equal to 75. Okay, if G3 is greater than or equal to 75, and then the second logic is, if G3 is less than 80, so that it doesn't cross into that. So once I close this bracket of of um of hand, so I am back to the bracket of if, and if says, oh, thank you, you have provided me the logical test in this case, which is 2. Remember, we provided just 1 here, now we have provided 2 here. And how were we able to do that? Is by the help of and. So and helped us to be able to provide those 2, and now we can now proceed on our normal route. It says value if true, and that's the next thing we should be providing. So we have provided the 2 by the head of hand, and it's saying what value if true. We said b is our value if true. Okay, and now it is requesting us to put value if false again. Value if false. You know what? We are not going to put any value if for, because we have another condition to put in place. We have to address C, we have to address D, we have to address E, we have to address F, and that's what we'll do. So, but I mean, at this point, let's see what it looks like. We've seen that before. Okay, so when you do all of this, you need to pay attention to your bracket, and you put your bracket as appropriate. All right, so now we are here, and we say, so is asking us, so value if false. Okay, value if false. So Our value if false again will introduce another if so that we can put another condition. If, all right. So this time around also we will put our hand, and good enough we already know how to implement hand, because hand will help us to put more than one condition. So even if we have 10 condition, provided we can put those 10 in a very good order that they don't interfere with each other, so we are good to go. So we introduce our hand again, and then we say this time around, now we've covered 75, so we can just do something from 70 to 75 as well as our C. Don't mind me, my expectation are too high. Or for for us to just be realistic, let's see, well, 70 can never be C. I mean, well, in another school it could be, yeah, never say never. There are schools where C 70. Don't ask me what school. All right, so G3 greater than or equals to 70, but is strictly less than 75. So it's strictly less than 75. And then what's the value if true? C. And then wow, value if false again. I introduce another if. And at this point, I'll just grade everybody C. I mean D. So let's just do so that every number that we have on the table we have a grade. So let us just grade every other one. So we can just say 70 below is D. Uh, that so we won't be failing anybody in this our school, and we are not giving anybody E. So we just say 70 below. Even if you score one, you have D. All right. So we introduce our another if. Okay, and then we say the logical test. I mean, we don't need and yes, since we are just doing 70 below. So we just say if G3 is less than 70, hmm, value if true should be D. And at this point, we can rest our case. But remember what I said about closing your bracket. So, so our bracket are well closed now, and we can say enter, and we can then say yes. So we have every one of them falling into where they belong. Okay, are we good? This is the reason why there won't be a false at all in all that we did. Because if there is a false, even if you put zero here, this won't translate to a false. You know why? Because we have classified everything that is below 70 as a D. So there won't be a false anywhere. And even if we put 1 billion here, let me just limit it as 1 million. I don't even know what I put. It will return as A, because we have said everything that is above 80, 80 and above is A. So now let us limit it so that we have false. We have false. Okay. Let me just let's limit it so that in case we want to have false. And false is just that you have not provided an answer for it. So but what I would do is that I will provide for S. So let us say let us then bring in and here and set some limit. So I would just say from 70 to this. Okay, let us do something. So I will have failed now. So failed will now be the what you're looking for. So we just use it as failed. So this what should we where we start from? So we ended at 70. So if it is greater than 40 now, so greater than or equal to 40, So comma, if G3 is um strictly less than 70, it will be T. So greater than or equal to 40. Greater than or equal to 40, but it's strictly less than this. So value if true, and now we now set our value if false to be failed. Okay, failed. Is my bracket complete already? Why am I not saying if my bracket is complete? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, now let's have field popped up now. So let's make this into 39. So that's S. So that's if or every of the condition fails. It is not within this range, it's not within this range, it's not within this range, it's not within this range, then it's a fail. So that means if you have anything below 40, 40 will still be classified as D. If you have 20, they failed. If you have 0, it failed. If you have -1, it's failed, and you know, like that. All right. I hope that addressed what you want. Okay, so I mean, I can copy this and give to you, but it's something you should actually try out yourself. Try it out yourself. Don't let me give you this. Understand what you are want to achieve. You know, we didn't just start writing because we needed to write. We started writing because we have first classified the grading. If we don't classify the grade, we can't write. All right, so we have used if and we have done all of this stressful, I mean, strenuous thing. So let us now achieve the same thing with a more in a more civilized way. Let me just say that. So there's something called ifs. Ifs has no time for ifs allows you to use to declare multiple logical tests. So if is just give and take. What is the logical test? What is the value if true? What is the logical test? What is the value? So you can continue, you can declare as much um, value that you want as possible. So the first logic, we just do the same thing, and the first logic is G3 um, value if true, logical test value if true. That's how ifs operate. So and you know it is pluralized because it takes into account several options. So ifs now to perform the same thing. So if it is greater than 80, give me A. So I don't need to start writing another if. No, I don't need it. Um, it has already been provided for in ifs. So it will just ask me logical test 2. So the logical test 2, and I will also use and here because I want to have more than just one logic to give me what I need. So we still leverage the hand, and we still write the same way we wrote the other time. So for me not to just be writing all of those again, permits me to just copy and paste here. And so let me say something here now. You could see that Excel had actually changed my G3 to H3. So Excel it relates to the cell. So if this that I've pressed now, G, H is after G. So imagine that I had pressed this here. Okay. If this had actually been pressed here. So we have, this is referencing G, H, H, I, J. So if I should paste it here, you see it will be referencing J. Okay. It will be referencing J because what it is, it is relative, so it will give you relative to what it was. By the time you copy a formula from a cell and you paste it somewhere else, be sure that it is pasting it relative to what it was. So you might need to go and do some changes. Okay, so please take note of that. So I will just go back here. No. Okay, so I need it to be here. I don't need it to be here. So now I want to use ifs. I don't just want to be writing those things again. So I can always edit this to have the same thing. All right. So all I need to do is to take this away and then this as well. So G. So let me just align. Okay. Okay. So I think we're good. Okay. So the fail. Okay. All right. So this is, and that's it. So if I want fail here in ifs, I will have to declare it because it doesn't have value if false. Uh, what's it called? Ifs doesn't have value if false. So if I need it, like we did the other time, so I will have to declare it. So and this is one way by which we can declare it. So we can just do something like this. We'll just bring it on as a case. So that means if G3 is strictly less than 40, then return failed. So applying this across board. So if we have a 24 or 38, so it will return failed. Okay. So this is how we can act. So we did two things in Excel and we achieve the same thing. And this is telling you that you can actually achieve the same thing by several rounds. Now that we have now understood this if now, okay, and we are able to demonstrate it with if. So you possibly could want to go and get another version. So I have here the Microsoft Office Professional Plus 2019. So that's what I have here. So you possibly might want to have a similar version, and that will help you. And it doesn't speak to just your Excel, it's the Microsoft Office that you have on your system. All right. So that aside, and we can get into our big data. But before we get into the big data, let us also demonstrate it small here. Now we've displayed if, and we now want to display some if. Okay, we now want to display some if. All right. So um, now, so we want to display some if, and let me see how we can achieve that with this. So we have done some, we have done if separately, and we now want to display some if. All right. So now, so it's asking us to identify the range that we want to sum, and we should set the criteria, and as well say set the sum range. Okay. Now, why we possibly won't be this might be too small a data set to try out this. I can still do it, but what it will just give us will just be as plain as this. All right. So we possibly won't have any sum. So say, so let's say, okay, this is the range we want to look at, and then the criteria is if is this, and then the sum range is this. So let me see. All right, so a mismatch has happened. So let me make my range start from, okay. All right, so like I said, it will um just give me what I have, because there's nothing to sum, so to say. There's nothing to sum, so to say. So this is what I have just done, and I can use the criteria range as where they have their name also, instead of using the serial number. So I can have this as the criteria range, and then the criteria you will select, what you will select as criteria must be contained in the criteria range. So now they might not be in the same place, they might be in separate place, but it must be contained. Do something that will make it more fun now. All right, I'll do something that will make it more fun. So pay attention. Let me just copy this and paste it again, so that we have these things reflecting twice. So at least a sum will be done. So you will just know that by the time it looks through, it will be multiplying them twice. I mean, it will be summing them twice, because we have just added the table twice. Okay. All right. So the first will just be 104. So, but let's write it. So we will say it should sum anytime this criteria is being met. So where is the criteria range? We said the criteria range is in this place. This is the range where our criteria is contained. Okay, you said okay. Okay, so what is your criteria? I said my criteria for this first row is Nathaniel. So he said, so what should I do anytime I see Nathaniel? So I said sum this particular column anytime you see Nathaniel. So and it's very easy for us to explain this now. Nathaniel occurred only twice on this table, and this place that I said it should sum. The value here for Nathaniel is 52, and the value here for Nathaniel is 52. So we are expecting that Excel will give us 104 as the sum if this criteria is met. And by the time we click enter, Excel did not disappoint us. Okay, so you now see. So let me now explain something now. So this is it. Can can somebody just explain what had happened? Because this is Nathaniel. He gave me 104 for this Nathaniel. And by the time he gets to this Nathaniel, he gave me 52. And so you need to know the workings of some of these functions. Some of them work up down. Okay? Some work up down. And some just look vertically. They don't look down up. So you have to be sure that you are using them to execute the right thing. So because you might be expecting to see something else and you see that it's not working. A very good example is VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP takes the first occurrence. VLOOKUP takes the first occurrence, and just like this, is at the time when it was looking at the first Nathaniel, it was seeing two Nathaniels in the table. But at the time it got to the second Nathaniel, it wasn't just one Nathaniel in the table, and it returned what was appropriate for it. And the same thing for Tolulope, Benson, Precious. So please pay attention. So I mean, be careful about that. So we have, all right, but we can also populate. Yeah, we can use two options. But let's go, since we have laid the foundation now, I believe we should have something to run with now. All right, so one other thing we can do here, okay, in the place of conditional formatting is actually to get into this, and we just say we want to bring in charts here, bars, so we can bring in those bars. Okay, we can bring in those bars here. Let me just copy this and paste this. So okay, so I already have that place formatted. So instead of having this, there is something that I can quickly show you that helps you to demonstrate how well you have used, I mean, you know your way around Excel. So this is using the inbuilt. So I just called this from the conditional formatting tool. I data bars, and I selected the data bar I wanted, and that was it. So and if you want it to not just be a block, what's it called, the same color, you want it to reflect other colors, you might want to, yeah. And if you want just to graduate them by how good the score is, you can also do that. So if you do this, so you discover that those that have a higher score has a bit of green, even in addition to their um, generic color. But apart from this, you can actually add bars to whatsoever you're doing, and this will give your work some bit of class. So by using this very good friend of mine, Rept. So Rept will replicate this text. It says replicate this text. I mean replicate this text. So the text I want you to replicate is this. I want you to replicate this bar. Okay, what do you want to replicate? I said replicate this bar. It says how many times do you want me to replicate it? I said replicate it in the number of this total score. Okay, it's not looking neat, right? So now you can just come here. I think it's Playboy, right? Playbill. So you can just format it as Playbill, and then you have this. All right. So you already have a chart in your, and you could see that it's very similar to the chart that we have that was created by the conditional formatting. So the choice is yours, which one to go for. So let me pull up our data, the data that was big last week that is now small based on understanding. All right. Um, yeah. Okay, this is not okay. This was that was the one we were working on last week. Okay, we can clear it and start all over again. So I
Okay.
mean, with what the background we've actually laid, so you now know the workings of some of this because I'm happy that the if that we did and having it nested, having hand into it, and we were able to actually go through it. So I'm happy, and that settles everything. So what we'll be doing here, so this is the raw data, and now, so our sum if will make sense in this case because we now have a raw data and we have a table we want to populate with it using sum ifs. So the first we'll do is actually to demonstrate the VLOOKUP. We did that last week. So now, like I said, it is not the two first, it is what we want to do. So what we'll do now is that we want to populate the customer name using what's it called, the customer ID. So you just you have the customer ID and you want to populate the customer name from this sheet instead of going over. I mean, a way to do it is to copy this number, come over here, do your search, find this number. Okay, then copy. uh, um so you can come here and say find, and then you paste, and then you look for what the name is, or what's the name of this guy. So you look for what the name of the guy is, uh maybe a lady. Okay, and you say paste, and permit me, you can choose to do that 792 times. I mean, you can do that, right? But we don't want you to do that. Okay, so and that's why you just use this function called VLOOKUP. And like I always explain, it is a vertical lookup. It looks from up down. It select the first occurrence of this particular um when the criteria is met. Some of these functions, especially the search functions, I mean, when I say search function, something like the conditional function. So you set the criteria, and once the criteria is met, it returns to you whatsoever it finds along the way. So VLOOKUP. So the first argument is asking for is um, the first input is lookup value. So what value are we looking for? So what are we and what I always look to explain this as is what is my reference. So lookup value, take this lookup value as the reference. So what do I have that I want to use in searching something out? So I have this but this other, I'm a customer ID, and it says table array. So where are you looking for this? So where do you want to search? So I want to search. So but mind you, let your table array always start from where your criteria or your reference or your lookup value is contained in. So this is the column where my lookup value is contained in, which is the customer ID. So and I will just select all the way to where I have my customer name. So and also another thing to note is that let your customer name, I mean let what you're looking for, that is what you want to look up, let it always be to the right of your lookup value, so that you can actually select from the lookup value to, I mean, that's the 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 range, that's where the lookup value is contained in the raw data, up to where your what value you are looking for is. So I want you to pay attention to what you are seeing on the screen very importantly. So under column G is the first column you are seeing on this table. This is column G here, okay? So under column G, you will see a number that has now covered column G. But if I move forward, the number comes down to below the customer ID. Can you see that number? Can you see the 1048,576R times 6C? Pay attention to that number. So the number is what you will use, because that your column index is the number before the C. So the explanation of that number that you are seeing is saying that your selection is over 1,048,576 rows, and it's over 6 columns. So that's where you have that 1,048,576 rows and over 6 columns. That's the explanation of that number that you are seeing. The CC is 6 column, while the 1,000,000 something R is the number of rows over which this selection is. But we are not concerned about, we are concerned about the 6 column. The 6, that's the value, the number before the C is what we are concerned with. So what that does mean is that the value you are looking for is on the 6th column. That's the index column, um, the column index of that number with reference to the um, with your lookup value is 6. So because the next thing that Excel is asking us is the column index. So that 6 is what we'll put here. All right. And we say comma. Um, so he's saying, do you want approximate match, or you want exact match? So we want exact match. So if you want exact match, you will put false. If you want an approximate match, you will put true. So also, instead of false or true, you can use 1 or 0. 1 or 0. So 1 stands for true and 0 stands for false. So we can put false there, because we also always should look out for the exact match, except maybe what you're looking for, you can't get it. I mean, there are some times that the number or the entry is not written the same way. So an approximate match might do. But in the case where you have it written the way it should be written, so the exact match should go for it. And that's why I always encourage, whenever you are doing a search, I mean a VLOOKUP, and you have what's it called, ID. So you have ID, like we are using customer ID now. You have a unique identifier that can easily identify what you're looking for. Use that unique identifier as your lookup value. So now if you click enter, the names comes there, all right? And we can just double click across and we have everything. So now pay attention to what I am about to explain about the 6. Why you must pay attention to the column index. Now let me change this 6 to 5. So if I change this 6 to 5, I'll tell you what you will get. So let me paste what you will get here before you get it. For this, so if I change it to 5, this is what you will get. All right. So you will get Texas for this or no. So let me see. Is this the first time Clara Sean is appearing? Because that would be another thing. But I think that is the first time. But let me do the search again so that I can see. But it will be Texas. I think she lives in Texas. Oh, find. this lady. So if we select 5, which will be, so it will be Kentucky. So it's Kentucky now. All right, so I copy Kentucky and I come here. It's Kentucky. All right, so let me change this to 5. So you see, so why it changed to Kentucky is this. So let me use that to explain. So Kentucky is the 5th column. All right, customer name is the 6th column. If I change it to 4, it will pick the city, which in this case is Anderson. So if I change it to 4, so it will pick Anderson. And if I change it to 3, it will pick United States, which is the column. So now you must pay attention to that. So I think I've emphasized that enough. So that's what we needed. So we've just gotten this. So I will always advise, except you want to, except your table will continue to change and you want it to be relational, that as the other one is changing, this should be reflecting it. Once you finish using your VLOOKUP, just make it a value. So the first place to, so that you just get your value. So you just control, I mean, you copy it and you paste it, and you click on control and you say paste as value, so that the formula, I mean the function goes away. So now if anything happens in this sheet, it won't affect this. So we can truly filter and sort without um, any fear of mismatching. All right. So the sales now, sales. So we now want to populate all the sales that this lady, this Clara got had actually accumulated. All right. So now sales. We want to get all the sales that this lady had actually um, all the purchases of this particular lady, filtering by code. So you can see that she made this much sale, she made this much purchases. All right, so that's 5 counts, and so we want to know what this total comes to. Okay, this total sales. So the total sales that was made to this lady, we want to know what the total sales comes to, which is this 1148.78. So we want to see. So we can't be doing that for each of them, and that's why we want to employ the sum if. So and sum if will help us with this. So let us copy this, and we already have this value. So let us copy it and use it as a checker. Let's just paste it here. All right. So we can take this out. Okay, and then clear our filter. All right, so now we can now do our sum if. Okay, we now say equals to sum if. Remember, we are summing but with a condition. Okay, sum if, but this time around we're just using one if. So sum if, what is the criteria now? What is the range where the criteria is containing? We are using the customer ID. Okay, so we're going to customer ID. This is customer ID. This is the range. Okay, so I will say what is the criteria. We'll come over to this. We say this is the criteria. That is, once this is met, that is, anytime in that range we see what matches this, then I put the sum. And I'll say, what do you want to sum? I want to sum the sales. So I will go to that and I'll say I want to sum this column. All right, I want to sum this column. So anytime you see in this particular range, you see this value, sum the corresponding sales column. So, and this is what we have. All right, remember we did the manual sum ourselves, and now using our sum if, it gave us this, and we can replicate this across board to have everything auto fill. Okay, so that is how it works. Okay, all right. So we can do the same thing for quantity. So we might want to check it also. We'll come using the same guy. So we filter by this name, and we say this. Oh, then copy it. All right, the quantity now. So this is the total quantity here. So 14. All right, so you can just copy it. Same shit. You can just copy it and say paste as value. It's not 14%. Yeah, it's doing that because it's in percentage column. So it's 14. Um so now we can write the same thing, some if, and then just the same way we did for the, we can then say, okay, let me clear the filter. Um, so just the same way we did for the sales. So we can say some if, and then it's asking for the range. So the range where our criteria is contained in the larger table. So that's the range is where the customer ID, because it is the customer ID we want to use as our criteria. So, and then we say the customer ID. Then we say it's asking us what range do we want to sum, the sum range. So this time around we're summing over the quantity table, and we say yes, okay. So you see we have the 14, the same thing that we did the other time. All right. So for discount we can just do average if, because we want to get the average discount that has been applied thus far to this particular lady. I want to believe she's a lady. So the same argument for average if, same as sum if. So it's asking us the range, the criteria, and the average range. So now, so we'll just go over the cells. I mean, the range is the same range. So the range where our criteria is contained in. So because before we select the range, we must know what criteria we want to use. So that will inform the range we are selecting. So, and since we already know that this is our criteria, so we'll go and select the range where the criteria is contained in, and it's asking us for the average range. So the average range is over here. So we're averaging the discount. All right, and we say okay, so the average discount that this person has enjoyed is 20%, and just across board for them. So what profit have we made on sales that we have made to this person? So we can use some if for that as well. The same approach. Um, so we go to the criteria table. That's the range, and then we select the criteria, and we say, or it's asking for the sum range. Then we go to the profits, and then we say some profit whenever that criteria is met. So, and this we have perfect. The goal is that we understand.
So let me say I'm working another project. How will I know when to use my sum if and when to use my average if? That's my question.
All right, so I'll answer that brilliant question, and that's the kind of question we want to. Okay, great. So you're asking, okay, when should we apply this? When should we apply that? Like the same response, maybe it will sound differently now. Is that know what you want to do? Okay, I was explaining during the last class that why do you want to sum the total of discounts now? So you want to sum total of discount, it possibly won't give you the reflection of what you want. So you want to first think about what the outlook should look like. So now if I should attempt summing the discount that this lady has enjoyed, it might be maybe over 200% discount. And by the time we versus it with our sales, that's the total sales over, and you just do the math, it possibly might not what's it called, might not make any sense in quote for the want of a better word.
Right. Thank you very much for that. I mean, thank God we were able to, we have just 1 minute. So to put this in context, in at the interviews, they will ask you, can you tell me of when you have handled sales data, supply chain data, or the data of the sales of a company or your organization? Probably you place this in your CV. So you start to imagine yourself working on a project that involves sales in your current company where you're working. Probably you work with, this is how it works, right? So because we want to try to understand, please take it to your screen, sir, Mr. John, so that we can understand why we are doing all these things. Why I'm saying this is, don't say you don't have experience again after you go back to your own room and start practicing this. When you go to the raw file, I mean the raw data, you see the whole thing, and you're like, you are being supplied with this from this maybe sales department, and as the data analyst of the company or the team, you're expected to quickly give us a quick view of all these things. So he started by trying to understand using the customer ID to get all the customer sales. Why is he using customer ID? He said because there is a chance, or there's a possibility that we can have two customers answering the same name. Or we call the customer IDs unique identifier. That is, we can't have a repetition of customer IDs, right? It could only be one person who owns that particular ID. Therefore, even if the names are the same, the customer ID will be unique. So he's using the customer ID as a reference every time. Now let's go to where we have all these other summaries that we have at the back. Why are we summarizing? It's so much, it's a lot. We have over 1 million rows, but we want to make sense of this stuff. So now with this, now looking at column B, we are telling your stakeholders, either your manager or whoever is the head of that department, that okay, Clara has made so amount of sales, or let me say in sales, in terms of in what's it called, in amount. Now she has spent buying stuff with us as an organization. She spent 1,148.78. The quantity, it is written here 14. What is the average discount? So talking about the discount is supposed to be that the person paid less for what she bought. Now, if you sum it in total the other time, maybe she's having over 2,000 or 200%. What that means is that she didn't pay anything at all. You even gave her money to go home,
Mhm.
which is loss. Do you understand that now? So that's why you can't add discount together. You can only have the average, so that it will average out all the discounts you have given her through her sales all through. So you can see the average discount she has received over time. Because if we add everything together, what it means is that, imagine if she has 100% discount, what that means is she didn't pay anything. Now, having 200% means that you even gave her exactly the same amount she's meant to pay for that thing she's meant to buy with your organization. She didn't pay, yet you gave her money. Do you understand? That's why that cannot work. Now, profit. How much profit have you made from her? Now, this may be something that you need, so that you can identify your high valued customers. So you are gaining this kind of insight, so that you know people you would probably give incentive to, or give Christmas package, or follow them up to know them better, or know their point of pain in case they are not dealing with you again. These are high value customers. This guy was saying it on one interview I was watching. If you know Inyaboyeji is like the tech entrepreneur in Nigeria, like the largest one. He made Andela and Flutter Waves for payments and the likes. Now, he said, I focus on the first 20 customers. So with this quick record now, this quick summary now, you can quickly get your first 20 customers. You understand? And know that, okay, if we have anything, we want to focus on these people. We want to make sure we serve them right, so that they won't go away. We want to make sure we satisfy them every time. So when you put yourself in this thing, you understand that you're a data analyst already. After practicing, after now, please don't say, I don't have the experience. Start to put it in context. If you have worked in a sales company before, your mom sells stuff, you sell stuff, you have a business, start to use all these skills there, so that when you put this in your CV, it doesn't look like you are lying. The only thing is, you have been doing this before, but probably you didn't do it inside the Excel sheet, right? You have also been receiving discounts. You didn't go home to go and calculate and see how much discount am I getting. from this company. Maybe I should deal with them. I should buy from them more. Do you get that now? That's why we are trying to explain. So the idea should have been a cinematic thing. It could be that Mr. John is my boss at work and he says, please, we need this quickly record. We want to have a meeting. We want to understand our sales. We want to understand our customers. We want to understand what has been happening. Sales have been reducing. How much discount are we giving people? Is it too much? Should we reduce it? Should we increase it so that they can come back? Then he calls me to do this. Then I quickly start by doing it. It could take me like 3 days, a week, 4 weeks. It could even be something I have to do in 3 hours or 4 hours. That's why I have to quickly start looking at it. Okay, what can I use to identify them uniquely? Okay, the customer ID. Who are we looking at? Let's immediately I can just limit it and say, okay, arrange this thing in descending order such that the highest profit stays on the top. Or this, let's look at it from the angle of sales. And then we remove the first 20, we focus on them. I think I don't want to say too much. Again, Mr. John, if you have anything to say so that we can wrap this up, thank you very much for your
I
time.
think it's a good place to wrap it up, and we continue from here next week.